Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Hopefully you can hear me all right. I'm on my work headphones here. Um, Thank you all for attending the March 10th, 2026 Governing Council Board meeting for Explore Academy. Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote so we can ascertain a quorum?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Here.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Here.
Member
Here.
Member Jan Schubert, and Dottie McKinney here. Jan?
We see Jan.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Excellent. We definitely have a quorum. And Miss Karen, if you would please put up our flag, we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
You bet.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. And we'll open up the floor for public comment. This is agenda item number 2. So if there's anybody in the panel who wishes to make a public comment, the parameters are on our agenda. Please raise your hand and you'll be promoted as a panelist. All right, seeing no activity in the attendees section, we will close the public comment regarding things on the agenda, this evening's agenda, which moves us into item number 3, which is the approval of the current agenda. Ms. Dottie, I move to approve the March 10th Governing Council meeting agenda. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I do wish to make a slight change to the order of operations tonight. We'll keep items number 3, 4, and 5, and 6 in their order. In item number 7, I would like to move the closed session items, sub-item D, to the top of section 7, and then the rest of the agenda will flow after that, if there's no objection to that. All right, any other thoughts or comments with regards to this evening's agenda? All right, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the March 10th, 2026 Governing Council meeting agenda?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina, Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Member Bill Brown,
Aye.
Member Jan Schubert,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Okay, the agenda is approved with the proposed change I made. Wonderful. And then item number 4, I move to approve the February 10th, 2026 Governing Council meeting minutes as presented. And a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Very good. Hopefully everybody had an opportunity to look at them. I thought they looked pretty doggone square and didn't find anything goofy. So did anybody else find anything that needs to be changed or corrected? No? Going once? Going twice? Well then, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the February 10th, 2026 Governing Council meeting minutes as presented?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Member Bill,
Aye.
Member Jan Schubert,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. Sorry if I just coughed at you. That brings us into item number 5, our school finance section. I think we need to bring Mr. Brian Runyon into the panel so he can bring us up to speed with any reports that he has. And then I will make a motion to approve the bars after that initial report out and any committee updates from Mr. Brown.
I am trying to promote Mr. Runyon. I also promoted Ms. Sanchez. Mr. Runyon has to, there he goes. Okay.
And just for clarification, I believe Mr. Runyon's also here for the closed session because he
Okay,
has some more financial background on bonds and things that will be discussed.
Is that good?
perfect.
Probably want to bring Whitney Sanchez up for this section.
Yeah, agreed. And I
That works.
think she is. She's here.
I'm here. And I will share screen.
Thank you.
So if you recall from Finance Committee, this is what your packet will look like every month, but just note that this month we do have several bars to approve. And so those are not reflected in any of your financial statements yet because they have to be approved by you and then by PED, and then we can enter them into APTA. So some of the graphs and reports that you're going to see are not reflective of all of the bars that you're hopefully about to approve. But we can go ahead and jump into those. We did look at a few of them at length in Finance Committee, so I will just kind of scroll for these and then pause if you have any questions. The first one is an increase for your Go bond. This is your current year allocation, an increase of $21,947. That is going to your library and audiovisual expenses. The next one is a decrease, and the majority of the following bars are related to your final cash position from your fiscal 25 audited financials. This is, and so their decrease is to cash. So this is a budget decrease on your cash line of $1.68 million. The reason for this decrease is because the school projected at about this time last year that the school would have $1.3 million of cash. Once the audit was completed, the operational fund had negative $300,000 of cash. So that amounts to this 1.67 million decrease in your cash. Now you did have a substantial amount budgeted, 3.3 million to your fixed assets. And there was enough available budget in this line to account for the entire $1.68 million decrease. So that is where we adjusted the budget for the cash decrease. The next one is the same thing. It's a cash decrease of $688 on your activities fund. And that is just coming off of supplies and materials. The next one, another decrease to cash for your food services fund. So that is also coming off of supplies and materials. Another decrease to the state fund. Oh, sorry, this is an increase to your state funded food services. And that one is going on the food line. So we're increasing your cash on the food line of this particular fund. The next one is an increase for your Medicaid fund, $4,774.86. We increased the salaries expense line. I believe there is a small shortage on that line of the budget as it stands. So we're increasing the budget for the salaries expense. And this is a decrease for the foundation fund. It almost nets this entire budget to zero. It leaves $150. That is coming off of supplies and materials. The next one is a decrease to your state match cash. Pulled this off. You only have a few lines budgeted in this fund as it stands. So kind of just a mix of the decrease across those funds. Again, it almost nets it out to zero. It brings it down to $55. We do have another increase bar down the line here for your current year allocation for state match. So we are decreasing your cash $100 and almost $2,000, but the increase I think is about $47.48. So we'll get to that one. You do have an increase to your SB 9 31701 fund. So this is going to your lease to purchase account code. And then here is that decrease, $47,796. I placed it on your construction services line. I think that was the one where we took the largest amount off of on the decrease bar. So replenishing that particular line of this fund. This is not related to cash either. This one is a brand new grant that was approved, and the entire budget for this grant, as it was applied for, is going to advertising. And there is actually one more bar that was not included in this packet, and I had it up and I lost it. There it is. This is your Title I adjusted allocation budget increase. And so I worked with Lisa to determine where this budget should go. You have an EA. So we are allocating that salary and the benefits that go along with it to this fund. And that's it for the bars. So I'm going to switch back to this report. Again, this is standard for what you will see in months going forward. The only component that's missing from this packet is your bank reconciliation. We have 3 outstanding items that we're still trying to track down. So essentially items posted to your bank account in the months of January and February, but they aren't in APTA. So we need to identify what those, they were ACH transactions, and I think they were all under $5,000. But we need to identify what those transactions were for so that we can post them in the accounting software and then reconcile the bank. This report is your check report. So these are all the checks that were printed in the month of February since we took over Explore. The ones on the top are related to AP, so these are invoices, and then the ones on the bottom are related to payroll. We do have a substantial amount of outstanding AP left that needs to be paid, but cash flow is a concern. We submitted almost $1 million worth of RFRs last week, 2 weeks ago now. Some of them have trickled in, which is great. But the other bad news is that SEG is delayed this month. So we have not received our SEG deposit yet in the month of March, and this week is payroll. So we cannot do a bunch of accounts payable payments and risk not having the cash in the bank to cover all of our payroll expenses and liabilities. So until we get SEG, we're kind of at a little bit of a pause again on AP. We've identified a few super critical items that we need to get paid right away that we can manage with what's in the bank right now without our SEG. But until we get that, we're not doing any major catch up on AP. Waiting on RFRs, waiting on SEG. So this is a pretty short list considering the size of the school for the month of February, but that's only because we're trying to get the cash flow situation under control. And then I'll just explain this, and you probably already know this is the same report, it's just in greater detail so that you can see account codes and what exactly was purchased from the checks that are listed above. So the goal in the future is to have this packet sent out well in advance so you have time to review it and come up with the questions. So as you review this packet now, if you need to email me or call or text, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about this report. So I'm going to skip through these pages because again, it's all of the same information. It's just more detailed.
Whitney, when when you're finished, can you email that to me so I can share it with all the board members?
I did. I just emailed it to you
Oh,
a
I'm
little
sorry.
while ago, but there
Okay.
should be an updated version coming with that Title I bar that wasn't in the packet. So when I get the updated one with the Title I bar, I'll send that one to you too, so that you have the complete version.
Miss Whitney, could I ask you to try to make that a little larger for us older
I'm
folks?
sorry.
That's right.
And I can't see it, and I'm not sure why.
Hmm.
Is that better for those that can see it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not sure why.
Dottie, it must be your settings on your view in the top right corner. Maybe if you go to view, you could choose like side by side, gallery so that you can see this? You probably have it on see the speaker or something. I don't know. Maybe.
No worries, continue. I'll catch up.
Okay, that sounds good. Like I said, you'll have these graphs in all of your packets. I wouldn't read too much into them at the moment because, again, we just presented 12 or 13 bars that will impact all of this once they get approved by PED. But the first graph, just to explain what you're looking at, you're looking at your budgeted operational fund here at the top left, and then your estimated expenses. This is your actual expenses year to date plus your encumbrances year to date. Now, keep in mind, we did just submit a $1.7 million budget decrease. The unit value did increase $75 and I think 75 cents, which is great. But we're looking at a decrease related to membership, 40th day membership. So we have yet to see exactly what your new SEG is going to look like. So just keep that in mind as well. My apologies. This is the same information, but for all of your other funds, we just kind of highlight the operational fund separately so you can kind of see where you stand with your other funds. But there are bars all intertwined throughout here also. And then this just shows your percent of your budget spent and the percent of the prior month expenditure. And then these graphs, this is your fund balance. And again, this is where I said you budgeted that you would have 1.3 million of cash. Your actual fund balance was negative 300 some. And so that's where that $1.67 million bar decrease is coming from. And then this is your budgeted revenue. This is your year-to-date revenue. And this is operational fund only, and then your total budget. So operational fund, all of your other funds across the top. And then the goal is to have 1 month's liquidity at minimum in your operational cash. You do have 1.6 right now, but we want to keep it at 1. So we will see after we get some of this outstanding AP done. That's going to put a dent in that number. And then the same information, but now we're looking at the revenue side. We were looking at expenses before. Your budgeted revenue, almost 20 million. You've received 14 of that so far. As we're getting closer to the end of the year, we're going to get close. The current revenue is going to catch up to your budgeted revenue as the year goes on. And then this is a comparison by month for all of your expenditures. So obviously this orange bar is just going to increase as the year goes on because we are spending money every month. So that's only going to get higher. Monthly change, it kind of shows you're holding flat. There were a slight increase in your expenditures in January. It has kind of tapered off in February. I know you guys had done some work on identifying some positions to eliminate, so that would have contributed to some of this. Trying not to open any new purchase orders that aren't super urgent, so we're not encumbering a lot more expenses. So that's why this has trailed off a little bit in February, just as we get a hold of the whole financial situation. And then these graphs just show where you're spending your money. So a good chunk of it, 53%, is going directly to the students. It's going to instruction and instructional support. 53 is not a bad spot to be in. Brian can probably correct me if I'm wrong. I think that like when we do the budgets and they look to see where we're spending money, I think 50, 60% is right around the sweet spot where they don't question as much. If we start getting much lower than that, they wonder why are we spending so much money on things other than the kids. And then the majority of your expenses by object, a big chunk of it, 66% is going to salaries and benefits. These graphs I like just because you can kind of keep an eye month over month, like were there drastic swings? Did we suddenly stop spending money on instruction and instructional support and then started paying a higher percentage on property and maintenance? So you can kind of just keep an eye on the trends. Same thing with this one. Not a lot of changes on compensation and benefits percentage wise of all of your expenditures. And then the next several pages are your account summary reports for expenses and revenues. These feed the graphs that we just looked at. So the graphs are summarizing these next few pages. And I'm sure you all know, I always tend to over explain with new schools, and you're probably well aware that this first set of numbers is your fund number. The second set of numbers is the function, and the third is the object code. So anytime you see something that starts with a 4, you know that it has to do with revenue. This is your location code, and we don't encumber revenue. Need to see why there's 280 encumbered here on this particular line. But we don't encumber revenue. So you should see zeros across down this column for all of your revenue. And they reflect as a negative on your statements. One more page of revenue. And then as we get into expenditures, this is a roll-up report. So you can see within your operational fund, what you're spending on instruction and all of those categories in that pie graph up above. So this is where that is coming from. Same down this report with all of your other funds. And I'm just kind of scrolling. Like I said, we saw this in graphs above, and I'm available anytime for questions. I know this is last minute looking at reports. This is basically your income statement. We don't call it an income statement in government accounting. But this is your revenue in and your actual cash out the door. And your changes in fund balance. Not the same as bank balance. So total this year, you've had $17 million of cash come in the door and $16.3 million of cash go out the door. And then typically here at the end of this report, you would see your bank account reconciliation. You want to see that tied to 0, which is basically saying everything in the accounting software ties to everything that's in the bank. And we'll put an actual copy of your bank statement in here so that you can see for yourself that the numbers do actually match. So by your March meeting, we will most definitely have January, February, and of course, March. By your April meeting, we'll have your March reconciled also.
Excellent. We'll be able to see that in the finance committee meeting as well, right? We'll be able
Yes,
to
yes,
watch that in
exactly.
advance.
This is what I was talking about on Thursday when I said typically this would already be ready and we'd go through this whole thing in finance.
Okay, so my question is, have you all been able to, or do you not have enough information to forecast what our end of fiscal year cash position will be?
So once these bars go in and we can look at all of your grants and make sure they are being spent correctly. And I'm confident they are because I have seen Lisa's funding source tracker and it is one of the most thorough documents I have ever seen. It's great. So I'm confident that your grants are in good shape. The goal is by spring budget workshop, which is next week, really, to have a pretty good handle of where you guys are. So by your next meeting, we should have a better picture of where everything stands. a few more purchase orders to close. I know there are a couple of jobs that ended their final day of work was the last day of February, which means they have one more paycheck coming. Um, so once those jobs are paid on their final paycheck and we can close the jobs, and after that, we'll release some of the encumbrances as well. And then we do have a couple of new purchase orders to open. I know there are some graduation expenses coming and things like that. Um, so once those things are done, purchase orders opening and closing and jobs closing, I know we're not opening new jobs. Then we'll have a good idea of where we stand.
Perfect. Looking forward to that. It'll be nice to see. Very good, Miss Whitney. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The graphs were excellent. I have been
Good.
wanting to see graphs like that for a while. So that was really a nice representation of all of the minutiae in the numbers. And next month, when Bill and I meet with you at the Finance
Mhm.
Committee meeting, we'll be able to dig into those just a little bit deeper.
Right. Yeah, as
but,
long as
well
PED
done.
doesn't drag their feet approving the bars, then they will be in your financial statements.
In the past, they've been pretty
They're usually really good.
quick. So
And
yeah, I
also,
say
I
that
can't
now
take credit for the graphs. That's something that Brian and Rebecca and all of them have put together. So I just got to piggyback off of work they've
my
already
fellow
done.
Excel nerds. Awesome. No, that's beautiful. Fellow board members, any questions with regards to what you've seen this evening? It was kind of a quick look, but
It
Bill
was.
and I did dig into some of these, especially the bars at the Finance Committee meeting, and both of us were pretty satisfied with the flow of bar activity to get us again to some parity so that we can then move forward. I hope we never have to hear about last year's end of year number again. So which is why I'm looking so forward to hearing our forecast for our cash position at the end of the year, because I'm hoping that'll sound much
Agreed.
better. So, but let me open it up to the floor for my fellow board members to ask any questions. None?
I'm sorry.
None? All right, I'm going to put two motions out. One is to approve the financial reports we just saw, and then I'll make a motion for the bars separately. I move to approve the financial reports as presented. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any further questions? Last call before we go into a vote. Great. Our board really trusts us, Bill. All right, Ms. Duddy, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the financial reports as presented?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina.
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson.
Aye.
Member Bill Brown.
Aye.
Member Jan Schubert.
Aye.
And Secretary Dottie McKinney, aye.
Thank you all very much. All right, now let's tackle the bars. I move to approve the budget adjustment requests as presented in the financial section of the agenda, ending in numbers 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Chan. All right, any questions about the bars? Like I said, Bill and I did take a pretty good look at those with Whitney last week, and they all seem to be fair, reasonable, and numerous. No questions. Again, Bill, they really trust us. Very good. Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the budget adjustment requests as presented in the financial section of the agenda, ending in 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26.
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina.
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson.
Aye.
Member Bill,
Aye.
Member Jan Schubert.
Aye.
And Secretary Dottie McKinney, aye.
Thank you all so very much. Whitney, well done. Thank you so very much. Jake and I and Bill know that that was a huge lift to get to this part. I'm anxious to see April because now we'll be back on track on our monthlies. We'll see the motion. It'll be great. But I know getting everything reconciled for over a 90-day period was no small task. So thank you so very much.
You're very welcome. Team effort.
Indeed.
Um,
And before, yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna note that Mr. Colandra has hand raised, and I didn't know before I moved Whitney if it had to do with
Oh,
Whitney, so.
Yeah,
sorry, Jake.
that's okay. I was just going to give a shout out because we're doing our weekly finance meetings as often as we can, and this morning's was definitely very productive. At any point, if finance committee or board would like to see copies of those, because that's where we're kind of digging into some of the nitty gritty of talking through some of the finance stuff, and so I really appreciated the team from Vertex and their efforts, and especially Whitney and Sammy digging into these things because it's refreshing to have that depth of conversation about it and the clarity of thought that they're able to articulate.
Here, here.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done. Brian, take note. When it comes to her annual review time,
He just dropped off.
man.
Oh, darn.
Really
Oh,
dodged that one.
wow, he does. He'll
He's
be back.
still here. He's just in the attendees now. That was
Oh,
my
All
fault.
right. So Brian, you better have that pen ready to go because Whitney is quite valuable. So again, thank you so very much. Really
Of course.
excited for our finance committee meeting in April. So awesome,
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you for
Whitney,
being so approachable.
I'm gonna move you back to attendees and welcome to stay or enjoy your evening, whatever you prefer. Thanks.
Thank you.
The fun part is Brian is in the attendees, so he can't retort. He just has to listen. Jace, we're going to get to you here in just a couple of minutes. You're probably like, this grown-up stuff is the pits. And I agree with you. All right, we are to the designation of our Chief Procurement Officer. Mr. Colander, I'm guessing you're going to bring us up to speed on this so we can conduct a vote.
Absolutely. If we could please get Tina brought up to the panel. I saw her name pop up. There she is. Very good. So as the board is aware, we were looking for a new CPO for our school, and both Tina Kozlowski and Latasia Dyer. Latasia works on the staffing side. Tina's our current office manager. Both completed the training in February, both passed their certifications and are now certified CPOs. That was excellent work on their behalf, and it was an intense 4 days for them. But we then had a follow-up meeting to determine which duties are best held to the person who is most frequently on campus, which of course Tina is campus-based. And so we have decided that we would like to move forward with Tina being our Chief Procurement Officer for the school. It will take some shifting in her duties to make sure that as office manager / CPO that her responsibilities are not overwhelming and that she can tackle them well and focus on what needs to. But her level of attention to detail is amazing. It's really been a pleasure having it at our school. So I'm excited for this shift.
Indeed. Ms. Kozlowski, I need to give you ample warning that you have not one, but two procurement people on the board. That would be Dottie and me. So two things. One is we kind of know what we're doing, Dottie more than me. And two is you've got help. So especially in the construction side, Dottie is an absolute guru on construction. So please, I'm volunteering Dottie without her permission, but please lean on Dottie. She's a huge wealth of knowledge with regards to all things construction procurement in the state. It was awesome. We were at a board recognition dinner about a month ago, and one of the PEC commissioners came over and sat down, and he's in the construction business. And he and Dottie tore it up, man. It was like, wow, you don't need to be here anymore. Poor Heather was sitting there thinking, okay, this is groovy. So so anyway, you do have two procurement people on the board, and I know I'm happy to help. And Dottie is, like I said, immeasurably wise in that world. So lean on us. Fellow board members, any questions or comments to Ms. Kozlowski?
That Tina's formally introduced herself. Do you want to just
Yeah, you should do that.
unmute? Hi.
Hello. I just want to thank you all for giving me this opportunity, and I look forward to continue working with you all. Thank you so much.
You're so very welcome. Well, if there's no further discussion, I move to designate Ms. Tina Kozlowski as our Chief Procurement Officer for Explore Academy. A second, please.
I'll
I would-
second.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Dottie.
All right, we have Heather as our second. If there's no further discussion, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to designate Ms. Tina Kozlowski as our Chief Procurement Officer for Explore Academy?
Yes, sir. I apologize. Oh, Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Member
Aye.
Member Jan Schubert,
Aye.
and Secretary Dottie McKinney. Aye.
It's official, Tina. You're stuck with us now.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tina. I'm going to
All
send you
right.
back to the attendees, okay?
Thank you.
Which brings us to agenda item number 6, our learning celebration and the recognition for student Jace Hughes. Mr. Colander, the floor is yours.
Well, I feel like I have been sorely remiss at not being as involved in this process as I should have been. This actually came as requested by Melissa Hernandez, who had reached out to us about some work that Jace has been doing that I was not aware that he was doing on that side. And so we are, of course, blessed to have him here, as well as Mrs. Hughes, who I believe is directly related to one Jace Hughes and can probably do a much better job describing what it is that he did and the kind of accolades he receives. But we're very proud to be featured on KOB4 for Jace's efforts and work, and I will let Lisa take it from there.
Mrs. Hughes and Mr. Jace, you have the floor.
Good evening, Chair Molina and members of the board. Jace is going to join off of my computer because his computer just went to a black screen. We're not sure why, of course. But I will let him introduce himself and then tell a little bit more about what he was recognized for.
Good evening, Chair Molina and members of the board. Thank you for recognizing me. My name is Jace, and Miss Hernandez, she's a part of the team of New Mexico Crusaders for Justice, and they help people's families who were victims of gun violence. And so I made cupcake toppers, like 200 of them. I also made chapstick holders, and then sea creatures, and I refused payment.
So Jace uses his 3D printer to print a lot of things, and it was started kind of in a sad way, but it turned out to be something of a connection. My brother, his uncle, passed away, and the first 3D printer that my son got was actually my uncle's, who never got, or was actually my brother's, and he never got to use it. And so Jace started 3D printing, and it has gone from there, and he does it out of the kindness of his heart. And so he printed over 200 cupcake toppers for Miss Hernandez and her New Mexico Crusaders for Justice. And then he printed 250 chapstick holders for another event. And he just does it out of the kindness of his heart. And every time he's asked for payment, he says nothing. He says a penny. He says nothing because he just wants to do it for the goodness and the kindness of his heart. So she went ahead and nominated him for KOB's Pay It Forward, and we were surprised by him receiving the Pay It Forward award from KOB TV4. And thank you to Mr. Colander and Mr. Branch for letting that happen in the conference room at school. And amazingly, we pulled it off, and he was completely surprised, and he had no idea. In fact, when he first walked in the room, he saw Mr. Colander and Mr. Branch and thought he was in trouble, because he's never been called up there. And then he saw all his family there, and the camera was right in his face. So I'm very surprised for that, but for recognizing his good efforts and for being a kind kid in the world that sometimes it's hard to do that. And so his 3D printers run nonstop, and he does it for the kindness and to help others.
Wow.
That is fantastic.
And
Lisa, if I may make an observation, you seem to be just a wee bit proud. I think you're a very proud mama.
It was a proud moment, especially because it keeps him connected to my brother, which was his uncle, and they were two peas in a pod. And we've instilled values in him, and his dad is in the other room listening too. So I'm sure his dad is the same way. Just we wanted to instill values in our kids, and we can see that that's actually happening. So it's really neat to see, and the fact that he got recognized is amazing because for us too, we don't do it for the recognition. He just does it for the kindness. And so thank you again for putting this as part of your board meeting to support him and to recognize him as well.
Well done. Fellow board members, the floor.
Oh, Jace, I just want to let you know that being on the Explore Academy board with you going to our school and receiving this honor makes me extremely proud. I'm very, very proud to meet you tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And board members, I wanted to let you know that on the agenda is a link. It's about 3 minutes long to the KOB TV news segment where Jace was actually surprised and awarded his money. So if you have a chance to look at that, if you haven't already, please do. It's really quite a heartwarming segment. And Jace, we were watching that when it was on air. And I want to know, Jace, how many 3D printers do you have at your house?
So right now I have 7, 2 of which I bought with my own money. 3 I was given, and then 2 my mom technically bought, but we both use them.
And so the reason why there's so many is he started with one that you have to manually, calibrate it and get it all the right settings. And so he learned that. He did the research on that. And then he researched the next printer to help him learn and keep growing. And then he's like, well, Mom, if I'm doing a really big print that's like 21 hours long, which is on one of his printers right now, he's like, I need another printer to keep printing. So, I mean, he had some good thoughts there of why he needed multiple ones, but he's worked hard to get them. And he's paid for some himself, and the others were gifts. So it's what he's learning with this is not only kindness and giving back, but it's also math and learning about all the printers and all the components of it as well.
So when Jace asks, Mom, can I have another printer? She says, how many printers do you need? The answer should always be one more. Just one more, Mom. Just one.
And Jace, what are you going to do with your $400 that you got from KOB TV?
It's okay.
I'm probably gonna. I think I need to save about $100 more, and then I can get another printer.
Of course.
Because you always need just one more.
Just one more. You just need one. Well done. Other board members, the floor is yours, please.
This just made my day, Jace. Way to go. It's encouraging to see what kids can do, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, Jace, awesome. Now you've seen what your mom has to put up once a month. She has to sit here and listen to all of this craziness. You get to go eat dinner now. But very, very pleased, very proud of you. I think bigger things are going to come from you for your school, for your community, and for your family. And I think that is a huge testament to you as a young man and to your parents and family for raising such a fine, charactered individual. So thank you so much for your contributions. Thank you so much for getting us that publicity on Channel 4. It never hurts. And I'm so glad that you were not in trouble with Mr. Branch and Mr. Colander, because I've been called to their office and it's not fun. It is not fun, and I've been called more than once. So I'm glad yours was more pleasant than mine. So very, very good. Congratulations. Hearty, hearty applause to you. And thank you for sharing your accomplishments and your generosity with the board.
Thank you, Chair Molina and members of the board.
And I'll reiterate that anytime we get a chance to see people that are working so selflessly as you are, Jace, like just give of your time and your energy and your creativity, just for the sake of helping others and not asking for things in return, I think is amazing. So I appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Colander.
One quick question before we cut you loose. What are you printing that takes 21 hours to create?
I'm gonna go grab one. Oh wait, we have one right here. It's a turtle.
What? And the arms.
Yeah.
Stop
And
it.
tell them how many of these are you printing and what are you printing them for?
I'm printing 65 of them.
Okay.
For seed camp that I'm doing this summer.
To do what? To give to all the
To give to all the camp counselors and other kids there.
Oh my gosh.
So
Okay,
it'll take about a month.
to print all of them that he's printing.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So do you print the parts and then assemble it, or is it actually printed in one shot like that?
One shot.
No way. Okay.
Did you
All right.
design that or was it someone else?
It was someone else.
But he is
Okay.
starting to design his own. So that's the next step. So now that he's been printing ones that he's found online and things like that, he's now starting to design his own through computer aided drafting softwares and things like that. So that's the next step in this whole venture.
Of
So-
course it is.
Tinkercad or what's the program you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm using Tinkercad.
Awesome. Great.
All right.
All right.
Well, Jace, thank you so very much. Mrs. Hughes, thank you so very much. We can't see you because your heart is in the shot. We can't see anything except your big old mama heart. So
Thank you for recognizing him and for having him be your learning celebration this month.
happy. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to send you guys back to the attendees. So
Thank you
Jason, go
very
get some
much.
dinner.
All right. So now you all see why this is my favorite part and has been since we started this, because it's a nice reminder why we do this. And what a wonderful, wonderful presentation and acknowledgement. Well, back to work, everybody. We are in item number 7 of our agenda. We're going to bring up item D to the top of the list for our closed session so we can chat about some of the lease purchase agreement stuff with regards to our real estate. So I move that the governing council enter a closed session pursuant to NMSA section 10-15-1H8 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act to discuss a resolution approving the refinancing of the Masthead and Galton lease purchase agreements as part of the foundation's intent to refinance its current board obligations. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Ms. Dottie, I will be sending you that verbiage so that you can include it in the minutes. All right. Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote so that the governing council may enter closed session pursuant to NMSA section 10-15-1H8 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act to discuss a resolution approving the refinancing of the Masthead and Galton lease purchase agreements as part of the foundation's intent to refinance its current bond obligations.
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Member Bill,
Aye.
Member Jan Schubert,
Aye.
and Secretary Dottie McKinney. Aye.
Thank you so very much. Very good. Thank you all for returning. I move to close our closed session. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Heather. Ms. Heather, would you please conduct a roll call vote to close our closed session? And I'd like to note that the only things and matters discussed in the closed session were those stated in the motion to enter the closed session. So a roll call vote, please.
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Member Bill,
Aye.
and Member Jan Schubert,
Aye.
and Secretary Dottie McKinney. Aye.
Wonderful. Our closed session is closed, and we do have a vote to conduct with regards to what was discussed in the closed session. So I move to approve the resolution authorizing the refinancing of the Masthead and Galton lease purchase agreements and related matters as presented, and to authorize the chair or in his stead the vice chair to sign the resolution on behalf of the board upon council's final recommendation. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Dottie. Very good. And I'll get you that verbiage here in a little bit, Ms. Dottie.
Thank you.
Any further discussion, board members, with regards to that very detailed closed session? I would just like to say I think all of our concerns were heard and clarified with council and our financial support from K-12, or what they're called now. So I feel pretty good going forward with the vote. So without further ado, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the resolution authorizing the refinancing of the masthead and Galton lease purchase agreements and related matters as presented, including authorizing the chair or vice chair to sign the resolution on the board's behalf upon council's final recommendation?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina.
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson.
Aye.
Member Bill.
Aye.
Member Jan Schubert.
Aye.
Secretary Dottie McKinney. Aye.
Very good. Mr. Colander, would you please communicate this vote to Miss Matthews without further delay? Let her know that the board has unanimous. We've a 5-0 vote. I can't say unanimous for some reason. Very good. So that was item D and item E on our agenda, ladies and gentlemen.
Chair Molina, Miss Matthews has sent me a clean copy of the resolution. I think she wanted it signed and returned to her this evening, right?
Sure. Now, that initial resolution had the secretary's signature stating that the vote was taken on this date at this time, correct? So it would actually be Dottie's signature on that one.
Okay.
So
that's what you just approved, though. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed. Okay.
Perfect. Very good. So items D and E under section 7. Now we're back to item A, which is a federal grant application. So we need to promote Miss Hughes, who's been patiently waiting, and the attendees to share that with us so that we can vote on that. It's going to go pretty quick after this game.
Hey, Lisa.
Good evening. I know it's been a long one, so I will try to keep my part short and sweet, but it is important. So good evening, Chair Molina and members of the board. I'm here to present to you tonight our applications and the status of those as we are applying for FY27. As you know, we were in the unified application pilot last year, which was the consolidated application that put all of our federal grant applications in one place in OBMS, which was great because we could put all of the things in one place and rather than having all the applications in SharePoint. So there are a couple of districts, more than a couple, that were not in the pilot. So they are using the unified application for the first time. However, we were in the pilot and are familiar with it. So there was a few changes. They did some based on some recommendations that we had. But here are our preliminary allocations. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom just for some notes. Preliminary awards are typically only a portion of the final award as it is considered the planning award. So these what we're planning off of are what they call their planning or their preliminary allocations. The state education agency, which is New Mexico Public Education Department, does have to wait for final awards. So they do calculate an estimate as a planning award, which is pretty much based off of 90% of the award from the previous school year. Again, we are in the second year of the unified application where all federal program applications are in one place. We did participate in this pilot for FY26, so we're familiar with it. The unified application is due April 15th for our ESEA, which is all of our title programs, and for IDEAB. It did just open on March 3rd, but we are well on our way to having it completed within that time frame. So I already have most of the modules completed. So I'd like to go back up to the top. Just to give you an overview, we will apply for IDEAB. That does fund support for our special education programs and related services. So we do cover salaries for approximately 3 special education teachers on that grant. As of today, New Mexico PED is still finalizing our preliminary awards, but we expect to see the preliminary award to be 90% of what we had in the past. This does include us uploading our special education handbook, which was prepared by Danielle Nee, and it does have a documentation of parent meetings, which is our orientations, our meet and greets, and things like that to support parents getting used to our program. Supporting documents that we submit for IDEA-AB include the IDEA assurances that states we will follow IDEA-AB laws and all the regulations around that. This one does need board approval that we are presenting this to apply for the salaries of approximately 3 special education teachers to be covered under IDEA-AB. So if you move to approve that that's the usage for it, there will be a board signature page. And there's also a parent involvement page with that one. And we've already identified parents in support of the program from our special education director, Danielle Nee. Title 1A, we also apply for. Currently, right here is our preliminary amount. Our final amount for FY26 was a little bit higher than that, but keep in mind preliminary is always lower. So we expect the final award to be close to what we had for FY26. This does pay for salaries and benefits of our level 3 educational assistants who help provide support to students in order to help them meet their academic needs. So it's all about support for academic needs. And we do have a homeless set aside for uniform shirts and Chromebooks as part of that application for students who need it. We do also get funding for Title 2A, which is to improve teacher and educator quality and effectiveness. That we're proposing to put as a partial salary of our instructional coach. Preliminary is this amount, which is pretty close to what we had for FY26, but it's likely to be even higher when they do the final amounts. We do also get funding for Title 3A in this application, and that's for our students who are English learners and immigrant students to meet state academic standards. These will be used to improve our ELD program for our English learners by identifying and acquiring and upgrading curricula, instructional materials, and software and technology to help them improve their content and language acquisitions. Our preliminary for this FY27 is pretty close to what we had for FY26, so it might even go higher than that. We also do Title 4A in this grant. That's for well-rounded education, safe and healthy schools, and utilizing technology to provide high-quality learning experiences for our underserved students. Partial salary of an educational assistant to support academic success. So we fund a lot of salaries through these grants, which is important for the support of our program. For Title 4A, our preliminary right now is even higher than what our FY26 final award was. So all of those are in our unified application, which we will be submitting before the April 15th deadline. The other application that we are currently working on is CTE from state, which is NextGen, and federal, which is Perkins. And that does cover the partial salary for a performing arts teacher and for a partial salary of our dual enrollment coordinator and counselor. They have not yet sent out those application award amounts, but preliminary, they've told us is likely to be 90% of this year's allocation, which was these amounts right here, which is what we got this year. So we're well on our way to getting that application done as well. And our performing arts program is our program of study. So those are the applications that we will be submitting on behalf of the school for our federal programs. That is just a little bit of an overview, and I will stand for questions.
I open the floor to the board. These all seem fair and reasonable to me.
The other thing to add to that, like Whitney said, for the funding sources tracking sheet, I already have one started for FY27. So it's already got all the preliminary amounts listed. And so we're already tracking where we are with that, and any changes with that come from PED will be tracked in that sheet to help both myself and Whitney with reimbursements and anything grant related for the upcoming school year.
In that sheet, do you list is there a column that shows the anticipated amount and then the amount that was actually awarded so that we can compare and contrast that? Oh, good.
Yes, we keep preliminary amounts in there. We keep the planning awards in there, and then we list the final awards. If PED ever sends any memos or correspondence about any changes or anything, we link those there as well in the funding sources sheet. So we all have access to it.
Great. So these numbers here are you're pretty comfortable with these based on previous year's awards. Okay, that makes a ton of sense. Great.
And,
Any other
and if
questions, board, before we go to a
I just wanted to add, Patrick, that the reason for preliminary is it's based on last year's numbers, so it
right?
may change once they get all that done. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but if we have historical, like year over year increases, that preliminary is probably close. And again, the government does what the government does, but it's nice to know that it's based on what we've seen in the past. All those numbers more than likely will change, hopefully in our favor. That makes a ton of sense.
Well,
So thank you.
and another reason why they do preliminary, and it's typically 90% of the past, is it's based on what Karen just said, but it also gives us a way to plan without having to take money away. There has been
Right.
districts in the past where they've had to give back money, and we know that that is never a good thing. So
Right.
planning off of a preliminary planning award that's typically 90% of what you will have is a good way to go, so that you have that kind of cushion or anything. And then hopefully, like you said, it's in our favor and it goes that we get more money versus having to give money back.
Yep. No, that makes a ton of
And
sense.
Lisa, do you need a separate motion on the special ed thing, or can it just be one big motion to approve?
It can be one big motion to approve, and then I will just send out the board signature page if they do approve for everybody to sign it.
Does
And
it
if you don't
require
need a wait,
I'm sorry, does it require the entire board to sign?
I believe it has places for everybody, but you have 2 places as the board chair.
Okay.
and if you want to send it to me, if it's approved, I can add their signatures to it. I think I
That
have,
works as well.
I might not have Jan's signature. I have to check, but
And I know Dottie had tried to say something, so I don't want to cut her off.
sorry.
No, Ms. Hughes, I just want to acknowledge and thank you for your hard work. I know this is in your job description, but I also know that writing grants is a lot of work, and my hat's off to you. Thank you.
Here, here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like I told Mr. Colander earlier, it's all for the kids and the school, and I'm happy to support so that we can continue to run the programs for the students that we do run, because that's why we're here.
Good job.
Agreed. Yes, very nicely done. All right, before we go into the discussion, let me make a motion to approve the submission of the FY27 federal grant applications as presented. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any further discussion, questions, comments, or concern for Ms. Hughes? Very well. Again, thank you so much, Lisa. You make it look easy. We know it's not, but you really do make it look easy.
Well, thank you.
Then, yeah, of course. Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the submission of the FY27 federal grant applications as presented?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina.
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson.
Aye.
Member Bill Brown.
Aye.
Member Jan Schubert.
Aye.
And Secretary Dottie McKinney. Aye.
For John, Miss Hughes.
Thank you very much. I'll get the board signature page to Miss Warner so that she can do her magic on it, and we'll go from there.
And go give that kid a big old hug. He was awesome earlier.
Definitely. And thank you again for recognizing him. He's just, he was nervous at first, but then, once he saw that you guys were just in support of him, those nerves went away. So thank you very much.
Fair enough. I'm nervous every time I start one of these meetings, so I get it.
Well, you do a great job. So thank you for what you do as well.
Good night.
Have a good evening.
All right. Oh, very good. Item B of Section 7 is us ratifying and confirming the change of one director on the foundation board. In their bylaws, it requires us to approve it. Believe it or not, even though we're not really affiliated with the board, we have to be notified and ratify any changes to their board. And Alicia, I thought, was going to attend to help us out with this. Is there somebody else here to walk us through anything other than what I've just said?
I don't know that there's much more to say. Alicia was here, but she had to go. This meeting, I think, went longer than we sort of expected. But on your agenda, there's a board of directors sheet with some bios and list the 3 folks. You approved this, a very similar resolution and list back in September, but
Correct.
the third person was Honey Bream has left the board, and they are proposing Bruna Brum-Wynn as the replacement. And I don't have much more to say than that. There's a list of folks with their bios, and then a resolution, which is just the same as the one in September with the change of name is all.
And that is truly the only change. Alicia and I chatted yesterday about this, and that's the only thing changing on here. So let's enter discussion by putting a motion out there. I move to ratify and confirm the change of one director to the Explore Academy Foundation Board of Directors as presented. A second, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Jan? Do you want a second?
Sure.
Thanks.
All right, we have a second. Very good. Any thoughts on this, folks? They're just replacing a board member like we have to do occasionally. This is administrative, if anything else. So if there's no further discussion, Miss Dottie, you're up. Would you please conduct a roll call vote to ratify and confirm the change of one director to the Explore Academy Foundation Board of Directors as presented?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina.
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson.
Aye.
Member Brown.
Aye.
Member Jan Schubert.
Aye.
And Secretary Dottie McKinney. Aye.
And it passes. Thank you all so very much. We'll let Alicia know that forge on. Item C are our board committee reports. I don't think we have anything from the audit committee to discuss that I'm aware of. Finance committee, Mr. Brown, do you have anything to add that we haven't already discussed earlier this evening?
No, we discussed pretty much all of it. So.
All of it. I would agree wholeheartedly as your partner in crime on that committee. Thank you. So then I'm going to open it up for Miss Jan and Miss Dottie. I'm sorry, for Miss Heather and Miss Dottie to take us through the facilities committee meeting with Ralph and the project list. And we can probably bring Ralph in if he's still around.
He is coming over.
So Dottie, since I've got this echo, do you want to go ahead and lead in? I'll jump in if there's anything I want to add.
Yes. So Jan and I met, and what you're seeing here is not necessarily the I think what I did was, and I apologize, I think I attached the wrong document to send to Patrick.
No.
No?
Ralph gave me an updated one.
Well, the one that I sent had a front page that was the priorities that Jan, now I'm doing it, that Heather and I had determined were important because they related to the health and safety of students and staff, such as raising the fence at masthead, issues. So I don't.
Let me change it back, Dottie. Ralph had sent me an update just before the meeting, and so I thought it was something different. So let me add the original one back. Give me just a second.
Priorities were different. Those priorities are very different than what Heather and I had talked about presenting.
Okay. Give me 1 second. So,
and he did clean this up quite a bit.
I thought it looked different than what I saw earlier today.
I
thought the document looked different.
Yeah, and this may be the document, which is fine, that Mr. Lovato and Mr. Colander reviewed and prioritized, and that's fine. But the document that Heather and I, we took a little bit different take, and so that's for Mr. Colander and all of us to, to determine what's the most critical, and then obviously where is the money going to come from? So, or how, based on budgetary
Both of them are up there now on the agenda and in the minutes.
Okay, so the one I'm seeing now, the second spreadsheet, the first item, I'm guessing this is in order of priority, is the Halo upgrades for both campuses. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So Dottie, do you want me to share my screen, or do you want to share a screen, or
Yes,
how do you want to do this?
Let me see if I can share. Oh dear. Okay, here we go.
It looks like the two spreadsheets are similar. It's just that the one that has the colors at the top are in a different order in the columns. But it looks like a lot of them are the same items. It's just that this list is in total 1 to 50.
Right.
Got it.
It
Okay.
says at the top of column B, the GC Facilities Committee, priorities based on health and safety of students and staff. So in our meeting with Mr. Lovato, some of the things that we discussed, we felt like particularly for the safety of students in the day and age that we live in, that making sure that doors are secure, cameras are working, all of the description here, hardwiring at both locations, needed intercom systems, both campuses. He had met with Halo and talking to come up with a number in order to do that. And so that was foremost in our minds. Yes, the fields, the turf, the landscaping, all of those things need to be fixed. But we took a different look at the list. He explained that upgrading the electrical at Masthead Kitchen, that they're plugging in and unplugging different things in order to make things work, which seemed to me to be extremely non-productive as well as not safe. And that was, so some of these have the dollar amounts are, the estimates are over here. So for instance, fixing the electrical is a low dollar item in the scheme of things. So, and then obviously once the gym is on its way, completing the black box, because that relates to students and programs and getting people interested in registering their students at our school. So we felt like that was extremely important for the upcoming school year. And then lighting for the parking lots at Masthead for the safety of students, or not, well, parents and or staff that may be working late. A delivery doorbell at Masthead. Here again, these are small items, some of them, but it just makes sense to fix these things and get them on their way. And so what happens is, they've got some kind of a system worked out when there's food deliveries, and if they had a bell, then people, it would be a more efficient situation. There are issues in the restrooms that need to be fixed. And we're not sure why janitorial supplies are on the list, but these are very important for the health of students and staff, to make sure that we've got the soap dispensers, the hand dryers, all of the supplies that are needed. And then the playground at Masthead, janitorial equipment for the new gym, and a scissor lift so that they can change the lighting in the parking lots and or in the gym. They're going to need to do that. The next two items, Mr. Lovato shared that he has a lot of his own tools that he uses for the maintenance of the facilities. And it's a relatively low dollar item, but I think it's really important that that the school provides them with the proper hand tools in order to keep up with maintenance and to have a place to store those tools. Mr. Lovato should not be loaning his personal tools for maintenance of the facility. he's a super nice guy, and I know everybody just wants, to do the best they can, and I thank him for that very, very much. The other item that seemed to us to be extremely troubling is all of the HVAC issues at Masthead. They're just, some of the parts are not real expensive, other parts are, but it just seems to me that the HVAC in those buildings needs to be working properly, whatever it takes. And then going on with the other items, lockers for staff, folding chairs, and then is all the other items related to, the playground, the landscaping, the sprinkler heads, the fields. There isn't truly anything on this list that's not important to either campus, and we understand that. But we just wanted to share with you the items that we felt would be really important for the health and safety. That was our foremost, I guess, vision, if you will, when we finished talking with Mr. Lovato. Heather, do you have anything else you want to add?
Thanks, Dottie. No, I think that covers everything. I shared this with you, but I have kids at the 6th through 12th campus, and I asked them about the bathrooms, and we didn't get too in depth, but they do say that none of the doors lock. And so that might be a problem for kids not wanting to use them if the doors don't lock, or if they don't feel safe going into the bathroom. So it's just, that's one of the reasons why we put that toward the top of the list.
Yeah. So sheet 2 is, again, it does include the priorities that were listed on the first document that was uploaded that Mr. Lovato had given us to talk about. So he did a really good job of explaining everything, and wherever he could, he has already done due diligence to get pricing, to talk to people, about what would it take to fix this particular problem. So on top of all of his duties, he's managed to do that. So kudos to Mr. Lovato for all his hard work putting this together. But it does appear that, I think it's a good thing that we know, some of these things we knew, some of these we didn't know. But I think now it gives all of us hopefully a plan moving forward to figure out where we go based on any budget that can be found for some of these items.
So,
Okay.
Dottie, what you have on the screen is different than what I have on
Yes.
my screen. I'm not sure which is the source of truth here.
Well, the first document that is listed on the first link in the
No.
Aaron posted, that was the updated list that Mr. Lovato, and I think he met with you, Jake. So, and he updated that list. This is the list. Yes, this is different.
Yes, no, I'm saying the one that you are showing on the screen and the one that looks just like yours that's on my screen that I just downloaded are different.
Well, this is the correct one.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the one that Heather and I.
What's the difference?
Melina, that's the same one that's linked on the agenda. So are you on the right sheet? There are two sheets.
Yeah.
One is FAC priority and one says sheet 2.
Yeah, no, I'm on the FAC. Yeah, I'm on the FAC priority. It's
Yes,
just that the lines weren't matching up. So for instance, you have
you're right. You have GC
it's
facility.
Yeah. See how something's not right. Something's off.
What's off is that, how did that happen?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying is what I'm seeing on my screen doesn't match what I'm seeing on this screen. So something got jammed. At any rate, what's the difference between black box gym lighting accessories and black box gym lighting and accessories on lines 5 and 6.
That
One is the
duplication that I copied. So that should have been,
Okay, so it's the same thing for the most part. Okay. I
yeah,
wasn't sure if that was two separate line items on the same thing or if it was just a okay, cool. Okay.
okay.
So Mr. Colander and Mr. Lovato, what say you about these lists?
I'll let Mr. Lovato begin if he wants to jump in.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to come in here. Um, so I can go over anything and everything. I do love Dottie and Heather. This priority list you put together is amazing, especially after we had our meeting. I do love the way that you pretty much graded everything by priority as we talked, like going over everything. So I love that you guys made that secondary one. Um, the one that also is posted on the agenda under my name, that one is the most updated one as of today. I've been updating numbers every day, moving the spreadsheet around, consolidating stuff. Um, and then me and Jake went through and color coded it. But everything to us is all priority one. You know that we want everything for the kids, we want everything for the school. Um, but it all depends on what route we can take and what funding we can do. I am open. The main priority, especially coming into this, obviously besides the construction, is HVAC for myself being in the facilities. I do love the security aspect. That is number one as well. But HVAC is and has been since the 5 years or so I've been here, my problem, my
Correct.
main problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think we need to put as much money as we can. So I actually just updated the HVAC this morning. We had another unit and I was about to let Jake know tomorrow, but I have my HVAC guy working on it tomorrow and further because we just lost a couple more compressors on our lower unit 5, and that's for the cooling. So we're not sure if it's the compressor. He hasn't dove into it yet, but we're not sure if it's the compressors, if it's limit switches, if it's refrigerant leaks. So they're 30 plus years old. So and I've told Jake a number of times, and he's got my back with it. They're gonna break, and they're breaking very quickly recently. You know, when we took over the building, it was vacant for a long time, and then all of a sudden we're using them. So in our field, we know that's going to happen. So HVAC to me is super, super important. I think I just updated it, and honestly, I think I had it right around 200,000 for everything on the HVAC list. I think I added another 75K this morning because if we have to go and replace four more compressors or they're expensive, 8,000 bucks a pop, everything involved with them. So that money would be well needed for the HVAC. I do agree lower prioritizing some of the other stuff as Dottie and Heather went through on that. But whatever you guys need from me on this, I am willing to do the groundwork. I've gotten most of the quotes. I can do any groundwork that we need to after the decisions are made, or if we still need to have another meeting and come up with a finalized decision and figure out what we're going to do. I am all for it. So if you guys have any other questions, concerns, if you want me to explain anything, I'm here. So let me know.
Thank you. I don't believe this requires a vote at all because this is all part of operations and whatnot. Let me just say thank you to Heather and Dottie for the time they spent with this, putting this priority together and presenting it out to us. I knew we had things to do. I just hadn't seen it like this before. And yeah, HVAC has been, since I've been on this board, a topic of conversation every single year. And that's also a health and safety issue. We can't have classrooms roasting or children freezing because they're not going to learn in that environment. So that is certainly an element that we need to address. So Mr. Colander, from a funding source perspective, and all that we discussed with the refinancing of our lease purchase agreements, how much of this to-do list can we get covered sanely? And what are your thoughts about the priorities as you see them here?
I think the priorities make perfect sense in terms of the direction of where they're going with, especially some of the top prioritized things. I know there's some stuff that was lower on the list that is just some of the things that were, just as an example, the grass fields and artificial turf. Like, we're gonna have to do something with those fields. They're for the most part just dirt now, which is not great for the school. It's not an immediate necessity. The kids are running around in it, and it's got essentially my hairline only as landscaping.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of grass around the sides, but not much down the middle. You get what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things are pricier. I will say that what was approved in the documents for this evening, for instance, said that the school can borrow up to, and it had a dollar amount in there, which was something like 55 million, I think. And I think what we had on the documents that you looked at of what was currently priced was like 50. So we have some room if we want to say we need to add the following, because we have some wiggle room in what we can borrow on that if you guys want to borrow some of this. As you heard, money is going to replenish the repair replace fund, so we could also take a chunk of that and say we're going to allocate 150,000 or so. And Lisa, as you know, is amazing at grants, and there's a really competitive one that she's going to be in the meeting for next week. There's also some big cash, so we could be looking at grant money for facilities replacements. There's lots of ways that we could try to tackle it. Halo's a big, like, that was an expense that we just ate when we lost a key, because we don't have access control for external doors. We have spots on the campuses where cameras are. The cameras don't find things, and so there are some things I certainly think within these top priorities that are absolutely essential. Black box gym lighting accessories, Ralph, I don't know if that includes some of that framing that was described, that was presented, that aluminum, that framing to do the lights as opposed to the ceiling mount. I don't know if that's in that number on there. No. So, and that's a pricey thing, because, like, obviously they want to install lighting and accessories in the black box theater, but they're not going to do any kind of penetration into the ceiling. So they're not going to ceiling hang it, and they're having to find an alternative means, but much of that equipment's already been purchased. And again, over the years, like, I think Ralph and I were like, how do we get lights in the masthead parking lot if we bought like floodlights that are motion censored on the exterior, that kind of thing. We've tried to solve some of these things on the cheaper end. And there was a question asked about janitorial supplies. Those kinds of things, just kids, I think the vape detectors those systems need to be updated. And those are the kinds of things where they're usually an upfront cost and they're ridiculous. As you guys know, it's weird when you purchase a soap dispenser for a charter school, how expensive a soap dispenser for a charter school can be. And kids break them. Those are the things that they're breaking. It's also why there's problems with doors locking in the bathrooms, is because they dangle off of the framework, and the frame ends up kind of going out of alignment, a little tilted, and that's why the doors won't shut and lock. So those kinds of things. I mean, like Ralph said, I think all these are a priority. I completely agree that if we want to start piecemealing this, we target the top things. Like, if a lease is going to apply for facilities grants, we say, can you get us 100? Can you get us 200,000 to cover the first three items on there, and see how we can approach it that way?
Okay. All right. Again, I don't think we need any, I don't think there's a vote here. This is just a committee report out, but the list is long and distinguished of things that need to be paid for. And I'm sure Ralph could probably find some of the items on that list a little bit more affordable, like getting a used scissor lift instead of a new one, right? You can probably save a good 10 grand there, and still get a fine scissor lift, and so on and so forth. As for tools, this is funny. When I was in manufacturing, all of our technicians had to provide their own tools, 100%. It was crazy. I did not know that. So it is not uncustomary for Ralph to have to provide tools, but it would be nice if we had shop tools available for for the for the crew to use, right? I mean, some guys like to use their own tools anyway because they have their own preference, and I have no objection to that whatsoever. But I think bread and butter tools ought to be provided, absolutely, in a secure location so that only the guys and gals that need access to it have it. And then if that maintenance person or whatnot has their own special multimeter that they like to use or whatever, then that's on them, absolutely. But I have no objection to that. So I think the list makes a ton of sense. And forge on. Forge on. But you're right, the AC is huge and 200 grand is probably I hope it's not conservative, but it's probably a conservative number.
I, I have a question though. I mean, I'm looking at several numbers here and I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. Um, I'm seeing, so on one page I'm seeing 1.4 million, and on another page I'm seeing a whole bunch of other stuff, including 5 new classrooms and other things. What is it that we're trying to drive towards? Are we driving towards the number we saw earlier today of $4.5 million, or is it this $6.6 million? What are we, do we?
Oh, go ahead, Ralph. I,
So just explaining off of my sheet. So if you're looking at mine,
Mhm.
that's the numbers that I originally came up with all my estimates and then added in the construction stuff. So that's a total amount of what the construction cost would be plus all of my numbers. And the new updated sheet is actually the 8.6 is a total amount for everything. If it with estimated numbers, none of that is, I think 75% of it is accurate and another 25% of it is very adjustable because in my numbers I put, for an example, Connex boxes 5 to 20K, again, like Patrick stated, you can go used to new. So I put, like, if we wanted to get 3 used ones, we could pay
Yeah, I
7
really
grand.
would rather focus on the 3.8 million, the 2.7, the 2.2 million. I mean, are those also part of our proposal here? I just need an understanding as to what we're driving towards.
Is
um,
that the one from my sheet?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's on
you have
sheet.
5 new classrooms, $3.8 million. You have $2.2 million on the GM repair, like $500,000 on parking lot restriping. And those are the things that are really feeding, like the Connex boxes. I mean, yeah, but
Yeah,
I'd rather talk about the two largest ticket items. I've seen that $2.2 million already tonight. But
right.
the 3.8 million, I'm just trying to drive to what we're driving to on those items.
Oh, I got you. So yeah, down at the bottom, those were, so the
Ralph,
three point,
why don't you share the screen?
sure. Let's see. Share this. Okay, can you all
Thank
see
you.
my screen?
Hmm.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so the 3.8 here, I actually have a link here. This was the quote I got from Mick Rich. I asked Doug Heller, the architect we work with, to mock up a drawing of the 5 classrooms we wanted and enclose the patio area. This is what I got back from McRitch. So if you guys pull that up, it actually shows a breakdown of everything involved it would be to build those 5 classrooms out and the patio area to enclose it into one big room. The other numbers, so I have 100,000 there. In talking with Doug, I don't have quotes for that, the parking lot, or the interior staff lounge other than just conversation with Doug Heller, the architect. We came up with those numbers based off of his knowledge, my knowledge and experience. The inside masthead construction, that's to do a room within the flex room, create a hallway space for a new staff lounge. The parking lot work and restriping. So if we were to put those 5 classrooms on the east side where we would like them, that's a full bank of handicap parking lot area and a couple of visitor parkings. So what we were thinking is on the far north fence to totally redo the entire parking lot there, push them back and get it all restriped and rebuilt. Um, the design fees, of course, that's Doug estimating what it would cost for him to do it, which roughly, he said it'd be anywhere from 8 to 10% of the total cost, and that's design and engineering. Because we do have to get a civil engineer out there for the grading, for everything, so he would get all that stuff done for us. And then interior staff lounge, we wanted to make some changes inside of Golden for that staff lounge. And those numbers, everything besides McRitch's, those are all estimates that me and Doug Heller came up with, the architect.
And Bill, just as a reminder, we did go over that actually in the closed session. That was the 4.8. They had said the 4.5. That's more the 4.8, and then that 2.25. So that's the 4.8 was coming from that list of numbers.
So I see two distinct facilities projects. One is the construction, and the other one is repair, maintenance, and rehabilitation of what we own. Right? So so if we've got lines 35 through 40 covered, so to speak, by the lease purchase agreement refinancing, then what we need to talk about, or what you all need to talk about, is how do you finance and pay for all of the other things starting from line number 2 on down, or line number 2 on down. Starting with going back to Dottie and Heather's list, the halo, the bathrooms, all the air conditioning, right? The HVAC systems, those are to me some of the bigger ones. Are we going to have funds for all of those things as well? Because again, I see the construction as its own incubated thing. That's its own little large thing off to the side. And then we have all of these other items that are not trivial. So what does that financing funding source look like?
Yeah, I mean the options, like I said, if because the paperwork that was approved this evening by the board said could borrow up to 55 million, and what I think Patty had laid out on that option that was the 30-year with no LSA was borrowing 50.5.
Mm-hmm.
You could take a chunk of those and include it in the total amount we're requesting to be borrowed. They would just need to know on top of what was shared on that spreadsheet. Let's get closer to the 55. It would re-amortize those 30 years and adjust those monthly payments, obviously, to add those on there. Or we just start prioritizing the list out of repair, replace funds and operational and start saying what's our priority for fall of 26, for spring of 27, and we start piecemealing it down the road with, of course, some of the immediate things that we need, like I think HVAC is one of those things that we need right now in terms of the classrooms have to be comfortable for kids now, and so those and there are still some funds, some small bits of funds available to start working on some of those things. But the option exists within what you guys approved to borrow if you want to add it to the debt, or not the debt, you want to add it to the LPA.
Yeah. Okay. Is everybody clear on this?
Yeah, that's just really what my question was, is are we adding it to the LPA, or is it going in with everything else? Or is it, I mean, is it part of the piece that's coming back to us from the foundation, or, that's my question. Like, how are we handling?
I mean, I personally think that some of it coming back to us, some of it coming back to us from the foundation is immediately accessible money that we could certainly utilize some of that.
Mm-hmm.
What we're going to be replacing is that repair replace fund out of what we've asked to borrow, and that's money that I think is more of that immediate emergency need thing. But I'm not that well versed in what the repair replace accounts. There seems to be some rules behind that I don't totally know or understand. But
Okay.
Yeah, we could. I mean, certainly if we have like 2 million that we can bring over from the repair replace right now and put it in operational, it's going to make sure we end one of the things they wanted to prioritize is ensuring that we end this fiscal year with 45 days cash on hand, because that's something that we want to project that we're going to have.
Right.
And so we'll take that in and make sure that those numbers are all solid so that we don't get a surprise in July like we've been used to for the last couple of years. All that's really solid. And then if based on that projection that Whitney puts together, we say, well, now we have 1 million to put towards projects, then we start going down this list. and doing it that way. Or we can let the team know that when they put together the printing for Friday that they want to, the up to 55 will also include things like these that can be included in the paperwork, that if you want to borrow more than the 50.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, none of this looks frivolous to me. This all looks fair and reasonable and really expensive.
Ralph has his hand up.
Go.
Sorry. So just one last thing on my side, just being in my position. Again, priority if we do have to hold off, and I'm not sure, I don't know money flow and all that stuff. I'm not versed on that, but um for example, again, going back to HVAC or any of the priority list, the especially HVAC and Halo, security. A lot of those things, if we could get going sooner than later, from my standpoint. For example, we went all winter, pretty cold in the building. We had some emergency stuff that we were able to purchase, but we are coming up on cooling season, and we have two units that I know of right now at Golden that are down completely on the cooling side. So, yeah, not saying anything great, but the quicker the better, that I know if we're going to be available for some of this type of funding. And then again, speaking on the security aspect, those front doors at Golden, not secure. So two of the major things we need, that I would say from my standpoint as director, I would like to see is those couple of things. But if we could get answers and closure on those type of things, especially for the emergency part, is where I'm going.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you
You
very
got
much.
it.
Mr. Colander will be your point on that one because he's much closer to those funds. So we defer to Mr. Colander. But thank you for coming and sharing all of this with us. It was rather illuminating. And it's like I said, a long, healthy, and distinguished list of things to get done. So thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
All right. Dottie, Heather, any closing parting words for the committee report out, or are we good?
I just want to thank Ralph again for putting together the list, and apologize for the confusion on the lists that were posted. And I'm glad to know that the list was updated. It's Ralph and Jake put a lot of work in that, and so we have a launching point, hopefully, to figure out how to fix some things. And so that's it.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Colander, item number 8 on our agenda is your administration report. The floor is yours.
Excellent. I'll make it very quick. I was asked to address the student walkout in February. So briefly, the school administration caught wind via an Instagram account that students were planning to do an ICE protest walkout. We provided an official statement from the school that I sent to all of the parents. I think that correspondence is attached that includes a copy of the letter that I sent. And in essence, this has been a minefield for public schools over the last couple of months. Some schools have found themselves on the losing end of restricting kids from being able to leave. Others have found themselves on the losing end of allowing them to. And so we played the middle thing, which is essentially our open declaration is we do not support it. Kids would be marked as absent. There could be disciplinary follow-up for those who participate in it. I do not believe the school administration followed up on any disciplinary consequence. There was a degree to which the kids chose a precise date and time that did not interrupt final exams, was on a day where they knew they had a Friday coming back so they could get any makeup work they missed from the last period of the day. Like, they tried to be conscientious about it. We were on the news for it, but it was not, I don't think, presented in a negative light. And what I saw on the social media responses via PTO and the other website was just about what you'd imagine from essentially 2,000 parents leaning in with their opinions on it. Some who said, the school should not be supporting it, which our statement clearly said we did not. We had no staff that walked out as a part of it. We had one staff member who was a parent who took the afternoon off and was present, but in the parking lot. so his kids were safe. We had a lot of parents that were on site there that were supporting it from their kids. And so I told the administration, I think if we say absolutely not and try to lock the doors, we're just going to be fighting a losing battle on that end. If we say go for it gung ho, it's not within our right or purview to do that. And so we made it clear that it's not school sanctioned or sponsored. Um, and that was it. Like it was a moment, it was a blip on the radar in the sense that nothing really happened, no confrontations in the park, which is what we were worried about. I did send a strongly worded email to APD because we reached out and asked if they would provide some kind of support presence. The response given over the phone to our principal was that if APD is on site, then they'll have to take the liability if something goes wrong, and they didn't want to do that. So they said they would not be present. I wrote a strongly worded email to the interim chief of police indicating that as a school, I guess as law enforcement, they have sworn an oath to take the liability of we are there to protect the public, thus the protect and serve, and saying we're opting out of protecting school children during a protest because we don't want to take on the liability if something goes wrong. I said that exactly is your role, is to be present during public events where there could be trouble. And when you were notified by a school, you should have shown up or at least be open with the fact that you don't partner with charter schools to provide safety for off-campus activities. I got a very lengthy and apologetic letter from the interim chief of police who said they couldn't believe the person we spoke to responded that way and gave us their direct line should something like this come up again. So
Excellent. So the other thing I wanted to reiterate to the board is any disciplinary action would have been toward them breaking a school rule about ditching as opposed to them exercising their right. There was no disciplinary mention about you can't do that. It was that's your choice, but you may suffer a consequence about having an unexcused absence or whatnot, which is all within policy. So because there were some parents who are like, oh my gosh, you're penalizing my child because they're exercising their right. No, not at all. That wasn't the issue. It's that we have rules about attendance, and if you break those rules, there are consequences, regardless of why you're leaving. It could be a protest, it could be senior ditch day, it could be whatever. It doesn't matter. So I wanted to make sure that was very clear that the disciplinary aspect had nothing to do with their choice to exercise their free speech rights, other than you're breaking a school rule, regardless of why you're doing it. So, but I thought it was very, very well handled. The Channel 4 little deal that they had was very nice. I thought it was well, and Jake looks great on camera.
well, it adds a little to the chin weight, but I will say there was a separate correspondence sent to students worded similarly, but in essence, you're making adult decisions. And as adults, you recognize there are consequences for your actions. So
Yeah.
if you're written up for ditching and it's your fifth point and that means it's a suspension, that's a decision that you've made.
Right.
I linked everyone out to the ACLU guide to student walkouts and protests. So I utilized the organization that said, here are the limitations and the rights. And I sent a similar email to teachers and warned them about trying to walk out with kids and that. The only thing I wanted to mention for point 2 is that our first meeting with our union representation is tomorrow at 3:45. It's our ground rules meeting that we're putting forth with them. We have some MOUs that we've put in place in the absence of an approved collective bargaining agreement. We have some MOUs that we offered. They offered some MOUs in return. So that will be the start of it. So as if the board is interested in kind of how things are progressing, I can share that these meetings are closed sessions, and so details of them are not shared until a resolution or agreement has been achieved. And those are the kinds of things that I can share out as if there's a change in policy or an approved MOU that everybody's signed off on. Happy to share those things. But we're looking forward to getting the process started because a lot of things are coming up in a pretty tight deadline. Budget meeting, next spring budget workshop is next week, and calendars are about to have to get decided on. As a brief note, just raw data, I sent the parent survey out on their request, and a majority of parents would like to remain on the 4-day week, according to that survey. With yes, all the wows. That's exactly when I read it.
Really?
And I'm happy to share that
Wow.
out with you all as well. That was what we had. We had almost 400 respondents to the survey, and yeah, it was heavy on the side of retain the 4-day week.
Well, I would have lost money if I were a betting man on that one. I thought for sure they would all want to revert back to five. Wow, that's and I think that's a statistically sound survey. 400 out of yeah, that's good. That's good. Wow.
Were
Okay.
faculty also able to to
I'm
have a
a
survey or?
I'm allowed to survey the faculty, but in a step of good faith, I presented that as an MOU that to the union, essentially saying we're going to survey staff on their opinions about it. We're very careful to indicate that this information is not being utilized to make any kind of unilateral decisions, but just as raw data for the purposes of discussing the calendar as part of the bargaining agreement. Uh, and that's so they were made aware of it, and it's one of the MOUs that we presented that we'll talk about tomorrow night. Because of course I need and want staff feedback as well. The parent feedback surprised me.
I am right there with you. Totally. All right. Very good. The floor's still yours, sir.
You're muted, Jake.
Sorry, we're on general updates and reminders.
So that would be me. Okay, so monthly update as usual. Only other thing I have is, as I've already shared with you, the PEC meeting on March 20th. I expect there to be on the consent agenda the change to Whitney Sanchez for school business official and the acceptance of the annual report from CSD, which is on there. You are welcome to review it. Would you like, it's kind of late. Do you want me to share anything on there or nope? So it's there. I think Mr. Molina, you're going to be there on the 20th just in case, or yeah. So my concern is that they could take items off the consent agenda, and because we've had several switches of school business official, they could ask to
Yes,
remove
ma'am.
it from consent agenda and ask about it. So if not, it'll be over pretty quickly, and then the annual report will be later. Again, I don't think we need to be there. I don't think they're going to let us even speak, other than if they take that school business official off the consent agenda. I'd like to have you and maybe Jake there just to address any questions. The annual report is likely to just be presented and then accepted by PEC with no input from the schools. It's how they've been doing them. So that's it for that. And then training status, I think there's some kudos to go around for a few of you who have finished training. A couple of you have some training to do. So just reminder.
All righty. Very good. Thank you very much for the update. Any board comments? I didn't think so. Thank you all so very much. This was a very long night, but a very, very, very productive night. We really did move some of the chess pieces on the board tonight. So thank you all so very, very much for your commitment tonight and on the committees that you are on. Thank you so very much. Any further board comment? Very good. We move on to public comment regarding any item not on the agenda. And when I look at our attendees, it is Miss Hughes. Miss Hughes, if you have any public comments, you are welcome to share those now.
I doubt it.
I don't think so. Then I hereby adjourn this meeting at 9:39 this fine evening. Our next meeting is Tuesday, April 14th, 2026 at 5:30 via this format. Again, thank you all so very much for your hard work and dedication. It does not go unnoticed and is greatly appreciated. Have a great night, everyone.